Very proud to be introducing our first speaker tonight, John Sherber. The title of his speech is Che, the Myth or the Man? Che Guevara has got to be one of the most interesting and controversial figures of the 20th century. I've been to Cuba. I've seen the posters of him all over the land, even though he was active in the 60s. Read a couple of biographies, and I just can't wait to hear this speech tonight. It's number 5 project in the Competent Communication Manual. How John is going to be able to cover this topic in 5 to 7 minutes, I'll never know, but if anyone can do it, John can. John is new to Thunderbird Toastmasters, but he's an old-timer with Toastmasters. He's here because he wants to improve his skill set with presentations. Today, you're going to be treated to one of his favorite topics, because his favorite topic is biographies of historical icons, and Che is definitely a historical icon. I am so glad John has joined our club. He brings such a richness in his experience and knowledge to us. Let's see if he can give us some insights into this amazing historical figure. John.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and of course our guests. I love biographies. My speech tonight is about Che Guevara. Che, written by John Lee Anderson, is an iconic figure that only few have ever been given access to his personal diaries, of which John was. John's wife has tried to keep his reputation intact, and she's perpetuated the myth, a logical belief that he was the greatest revolutionary ever. You must have seen this iconic picture before. Beret, star in the center, unshaven, and always in fatigues. June 14th, 1928, Ernesto Guevara was born. It's not actually his birthday, though. May 14th is his birthday. Mom and Dad had a bit of an issue with that day. So does the name Fidel Castro mean anything to you? Or how about Cuba? Did you know that Che was Argentinian? Che and Fidel Castro met, and it was a match made in revolutionaries' heaven. They both did not like Americans, and they did not believe in capitalism. Che became Fidel's right-hand man during the revolution and after the revolution. And Che became the example of what it was to be a comrade. As a fighter, Che would train you, and he would subject you to the most rigorous training, and you would be disciplined for the smallest infractions. He had no problem disposing of someone who went a little wayward or that needed to be brought on side. As a man, he was extremely hardworking, working 18 hours a day, 6 days a week, and he would hold most of his meetings in the middle of the night. This included a day that he would go and work as a laborer. He would show the masses that he was able to do physical labor, and he was an example to them. By all accounts, very charismatic man. He attracted women like flies. He was married twice and had a number of children, but he was always faithful. He was a well-traveled man in his youth, While traveling in America, and for him that was South America, he decided that seeing all the poverty was there, he was going to do something about it. Now he was from, not a wealthy family, but a well-educated family, and he trained as a doctor. And this is what Fidel put him to work as when he first started, was as a doctor. Now he's also from a large family, extremely spoiled, careless about his appearance, sexually voracious, and relationships came second of all with anything with him. He had an iron will and larger than life sense of purpose. Che wrote about the first man that he killed. The man had deserted, he was caught, he was tried, and Che was going to dish out what was necessary. He raised the revolver, shot him through the temple, and then calmly went over and had a look to make sure that it went through the left side of the brain to the right side of the brain, and yeah, that was a good job. Remember, he was a doctor, and that's how he treated it. That was just the first of many. A friend put it this way: Che could look through the sights of a gun, and he would see that he was saving 30,000 children from repression and lack of food when he put a man in the sights of his gun. And he could pull the trigger, no problem at all. His friend suggested, he said, when I do that, I see a man who has a child. When Che was asked, why do you have to be so severe? He said, well, in this business, it's kill or be killed. Did you know he had a case of asthma that followed him his whole life and debilitated him for the longest time? So what did he do? He decided to live in Cuba, one of the most humid places on the face of the earth. And not only that, he smoked cigars all the time and smoked them down to the nub because he wouldn't waste them. Have you ever heard of the Bay of Pigs invasion? It was an American-backed invasion that Che and Fidel together rebuffed the Americans, and they rubbed their nose in it really well. But what happened at the same time is, for some of you younger folks, in those days the Reds were out there, and that was China and the Soviets, and they got very friendly with them. So then an incident happened where Russia was going to move in nuclear missiles into Cuba, and it was probably one of the most iconic times in our history, looking back on it. What did Che say, talking to a reporter after? He said, if those missiles had been under Cuban control, he would have fired them off. He would sacrifice anything to gain what he saw as a new man. He strove to start revolutions everywhere, and I suppose that's the transcendent aspect of his personality that has endured. He lived his life as an example of what he believed. And he never gave his family extra privileges, anything like that. He was a pragmatic individual that would make statements like, well, go have your experience. Everyone has to test himself. You must learn and gain knowledge throughout your own experience. So 5 to 7, as Rick said, is not enough to tell you about an iconic figure like this. He was a powerful human being with qualities that surpassed the average human. He was ruthless at reaching his goals, and when he was captured in Bolivia, leading a revolution there, he was eliminated. On October 9th, 1967, at the age of 39, he was dead. His last words to his executioners were, "I know you've come to kill me. Shoot! You're only going to kill a man." Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, John, for that exceptional speech. And now I would like